Hi guys, good evening. How are you? So let's start the class with a new topic, that is historical particularism. Good evening, Priyanka, and good evening, everyone. Historical particularism is there in your syllabus after classical evolutionism. Okay, and what is the name associated with that? It is historical particularism. In the brackets. It was given as Boas, Boas, Boas. So this is the man. Who is this man? His full name is Franz Boas. Franz Boas, I must give you some background information about Franz Boas. He was a German born, American settled person. German born or US settled or America settled anthropologist. Initially, he started his career as a cartographer. Started as a cartographer. You must be wondering what is this cartography. A cartographer क्या job होता है? This is nothing but the mapping of some areas. Cartography deals with the maps. You make some maps of certain places. So as a cartographer, this man worked in the Arctic Circle. Right, today we have these people like the Alaska and northwestern Canada parts. So this man went to USA as a young scientist. He worked there as a cartographer. He was mapping the Arctic and small dikes and all these lakes. Very small details also he was making a note of and mapping. So while he was working there, he comes into contact with the people called as Eskimo, and that is the popular name, but the actual name is Inuit people. The Inuit people is the one, this is the actual people, but the actual name, but these people are also known as Eskimos. And the Eskimo name is also there, but these people never like to be called as Eskimo. So whatever is maybe the reason, but when he came into contact with these Eskimo people, he noticed that these people are very simple. They are tribal people. Basically, they live in some groups called as hordes, HORDES, and the lifestyle is very simple also. But they are living in extreme harsh conditions in minus 30 degrees, minus 40 degrees, in harsh winters. So this temperature can go down as minus 30, 40 degrees. And in one of the occasions, one of the trips, he falls sick, and these Eskimo people take care of him. And bowled over by their hospitality and the treatment, Franz Boas becomes right. He starts developing interest in their culture. Who are these people? What kind of people are these? Why these people are living like this? What exactly is their lifestyle? What is the food? What is their political organization? What is their family like? What are their marriage practices? How they solve their disputes? And several other questions. All these questions kick-started a new kind of role in him. Then he adopts. Because of that, he gets attracted to something called as anthropology. And as you have noted earlier also, we have seen like Tyler, he was coming from a brass manufacturing company, I mean the family. And Morgan was a lawyer initially. Later he became an anthropologist. Fraser was also a lawyer, but and also philosopher, etc. He also became anthropologist. Like that, before them, before these stalwarts, there was no anthropology. Of course, people were questioning and they were taking some deeper interest in other people's lives, and of course, they were also questioning about their lives. But it did not become some kind of consolidated body of knowledge. It all the credit goes to these pioneering scholars like Tyler, Morgan, Fraser in classical evolutionist school, and as far as diffusionism and historical particularism is concerned, to Franz Boas. So, because of his pioneering work, Franz Boas came to be known as the father of American anthropology, and he also kick-started a great deal of interest in the field work. fieldwork tradition, which went on to become the heart of the subject. So today it so became that anthropology cannot be identified without fieldwork. ऐसा ये लेवल पे आ गया है अभी, ठीक है. तो ये एक पॉइंट है. And he rose to fame not only with his fieldwork but also based on some original thinking. What exactly this man was doing, I'll go to the next thing. You just note it down. Once you have noted everything, just type done. जल्दी कीजिए. Hope everything is clear so far. It's very simple introduction, because even in the exam they can ask about the contributions of Franz Boas, either in 15 markers or 10 markers. Go on to become this kind of father of that particular discipline, especially men. And in this case, Franz Boas rose to limelight when he did not accept the theory of these classical evolutionist people. These classical evolutionists were talking about right. These people were every time speaking about this one, the historical and comparative discussions. See, we have noted, right, that the classical evolutionists were always talking about the past. They said the right people have evolved from some simple savagery stage. You all know savagery, barbarism, civilization. This is all known to you guys. And in the same kind of arguments, they've also started comparing between the cultures. In fact, they have started putting every kind of stage of human evolution under the rubric called culture. हमने ये भी नोट किया था पहले. क्या था वो exactly? They were talking about some stage of humanity where they lived close to animal like existence, that they have called as savages or savagery. Okay. Second level, they were more advanced than the savage people, and that came to be famous as barbarism. And finally, civilization. All these were what? Comparative stages, right? They were comparing today's Victorian, today means that 19th century Victorian age people with the tribal people in other parts of the world. In fact, if you remember, in that notes I have shared with you, especially Morgan's classification, or rather Morgan's explanation about the evolution of human society. In his book Ancient Society in 1877, he has wrote about all this, how humanity has evolved from savagery. Within the savagery, there are three levels, correct? Lower savagery or lower level of savagery, middle savagery, upper savagery. It has given rise to lower barbarism, middle barbarism, upper barbarism, and finally civilization. In that, he was talking about the examples also. Amerindians, Australian Aborigines. आपने देखा कि नहीं बताओ पहले. Just tell me fast whether you have seen the notes. Have you noted the notes in your notes or not? हाँ? आप लोग नोट किए कि नहीं? जल्दी बताओ. और अभी नहीं किया तो अभी ओपन करके देखो. So Morgan was in fact comparing his Victorian American or European populations with the other people in the world, like Australian Aborigines, Amerindian populations, and the North Arctic people, etc., etc. That means they were doing comparison. This comparative and historical methods were not liked by, not liked by Franz Boas. So he opposed this. ये into क्यों लगा रहा हूं भाई? That means Franz Boas did not like this. In fact, he has opposed them. Okay, and he also wrote a paper on the critic of the. He has written a paper, the critic of the comparative method करके एक पेपर भी लिखा था उन्होंने. In fact, he was not happy with the comparative method. This is a paper written by our Franz Boas. Why? Because how can you compare between people who are different? That is a simple thing. Can you compare between dosa and idli? Dosa is dosa, idli and idli. Can you compare between biryani and pulao? I'm just giving food items so that you get connected well. Okay. Can you compare between one language and the other? Can you say, acha, after comparing, can you say someone is less and someone is superior and someone is inferior? Is it fair? Absolutely, it's not okay. It is not okay because every time when you start comparing, the discussion comes who is superior, who is inferior. And when you get the idea of inferior, superior, you are suffering from something called as ethnocentrism. So, you means Franz Boas is actually talking about the classical evolutionists. That's the reason he also opposed this ethnocentric attitude shown by the classical evolutionists. मैंने बताया आपको, देखो आपका बुक में भी है आपका in the criticism we have noted these people are armchair anthropologists, ethnocentric people, and they're everything like most of the postulates of the classical evolutionists were attacked by some scholar or the other in one method or the other. So ethnocentrism was also attacked. Why he has attacked ethnocentrism? Because they were comparing and denigrating the certain kinds of people as belonging to inferior or lower stages or lower races. In one of the comparative thing, I've shared that notes with you. In Tyler's animism notes, in one of the areas he writes lower races करके बोलता है, savages, and they use this kind of language, primitive, savages, lower races. That means you are considering you as superior, whereas the other people are inferior. ऐसा कैसा हो सकता है? It's absolutely wrong and it is not correct. It is unjust. Well, so that is one idea. Then इन्होंने और एक भी बताया. That means he was against generalizing. In fact, against giving general laws, generalizing, or I'll write here, generalizing. What is this generalizing? What do you mean by this generalizing? Because these people were giving the what exactly is this generalizing? The general laws given by classical evolutionists. I'm writing CE small s, capital C, capital E, small s means classical evolutionists. The classical evolutionists were in fact generalizing, in fact over generalizing, and while over generalizing they were giving laws and laws, LAWS. See that kind of laws they were giving. This was not liked by Franz Boas. Why he was not liking? Again, see, when you want to generalize, you have to put everyone under one carpet, one umbrella, and you start comparing between them. In fact, what he wanted was not generalizing but particularizing. So what he recommended, so this you can also write like this, x means against. So what he recommended instead, he recommended you please particularize. This is A, this is R, ISC. Instead of generalizing, what you have to do, you have to particularize. Why you have to do particularize, in what way? I'll explain in another slide. यहाँ पे थोड़ा crowdy हो गया है. We'll go to the next slide. Once you're done with the copying, you please tell me. Okay. So in this fashion, you have to remember things very easily. It's like simply in the exam hall, you need to remember that 7 or 8 points will be there. I need to just don't miss those 7-8 points, essential points of the theory. Then 1 or 2 examples, 1 or 2 some case studies or any other thing, not just of this question. For that matter, any question, you have a structure of the answer. So this is the structure you need to follow. Okay, particularize. He is recommending particularizing. And on the other hand, against this also I must add one more point. If you are calling someone as ethnocentric, okay, he is saying, Franz Boas is saying that the classical evolutionists showed ethnocentrism, then what he recommended as an antidote, instead of ethnocentrism, you show cultural relativism. Cultural relativism, he said, you have to adopt this to make to understand the cultures as they are, not adding any commentary, not judging them by their, whether you call them like, calling them as backward, primitive, savage. Instead of doing that, just accept them as they are. इतना बढ़िया सा point है देखो, extraordinary points. In fact, these are the reasons why this man has been elevated to the level of father of American anthropology, because American anthropology was considered as more refined in some measure, whenever do we do that comparison between British and American anthropology, because of these original ideas. And these stood as solutions to the mankind. We will discuss in detail in chapter 2.1. You go to 2.1 once, just check syllabus. 2.1 में एक बार जाइए and you check that you have something called as cultural relativism. You just need to tell me saw that or saw or seen that. That means, again, we have a complete discussion on this topic called cultural relativism. Okay, that of course somebody else has coined the term, but because of his opposition to ethnocentrism, while opposing the ethnocentric attitude shown by the classical evolutionists, indirectly, I mean inadvertently, Franz Boas has popularized this concept called cultural relativism. If somebody asks, Mr. Boas, you are criticizing them, you are saying these people are ethnocentric, then what is the solution you are trying to say? आप ही बताओ क्या करना है? He said, simply follow cultural relativism. That means you cannot generalize, but you can particularize. You should particularize. समझ में आ रहा है यहाँ तक? Are you clear, guys, so far? This is a very simple topic, can come as 10 marker or 15 marker only. So be ready. Simple pocket में आपके pocket में 10-15 mark ready है if you are simple and clear with this. Okay, great. And now we will go to the next one. Of course, there are a lot of other ideas associated with this. Now that we have known about the basic understanding of what exactly were the points of criticism of or leveled by Franz Boas against classical evolutionists, it is pertinent here for us to know something more about this concept called historical particularism. So what is the next thing? What is historical particularism? And if you notice this, these two words, already just a minute ago you have seen the word particularize, right? And there is a connection between that particularized word and this ism. In this particularism, the what is hidden is just simple logic. Particularize. Some American fellows use Z. Either you write Z or S, no problem. Both are okay. So what have to be particularized? What was he against earlier? Franz Boas was against generalization. So we have put a cross there. No, he was against means into Mariamlo, right? And what he was sticking for, he said particularizing. So particularizing means अच्छा पहले हम लोग बोलते हैं generalizing को समझते हैं. Generalizing means you are putting everybody in one kind of a scale from small to simple to complex. You are putting every culture in comparison, in considering under one umbrella. That is called generalizing. Now you have to do the opposite. Why? Because not only Victorian culture is important, but every culture is important. especially the, now which culture he is trying to actually, draw attention to. This man is trying to draw attention to especially the tribal cultures or cultures of the tribes. Correct? No, both are one and the same. This man is trying to draw attention to of the scholars to study the tribal cultures instead of every time harking upon or spending time on or chest beating about only Victorian civilization and all others are lower karke sabko every time these fellows are indirectly they are actually humiliating or insulting them by showing their arrogance. These people are in fact simply insulting the lower races. I mean the so called abhi dekho abhi lower hum log bhi bolne lage indirectly because we are talking like them or we are talking about them. We are also talking about that the idea called lower. In fact, who created all that lower higher? Someone XYZ. So we call it as so-called lower races, so-called savages, so-called lower levels of people living in lower levels. Okay, this is one thing. So one recommendation he has said. Then what else he is saying? How this particularizing thing or studying should be done. Okay, in fact you should study the particular cultures. Here what do you mean by particular cultures? Tribal cultures. With the help of their histories. What do you mean by histories here? Again, you have to question this word as well. What do you mean by this histories? What do you mean by this particularizing and studying them as histories? The idea here is not just only the English people or the civilized people have history, even the tribal people also have history. Chota sa chota koi bhi, even you talk about Eskimo also, or for that matter, any simple society also, they too have a history. ऐसा नहीं है कि these people are just jungly people or these people are like worse people or all these kinds of usages they use, right? Dumb people, uncivilized people, unimaginative people, and they are lazy people. इतना मतलब all the negative rhetoric has been created about them. Is it really so? Franz Boas is asking and is answering no. It is not correct to denigrate these people as lower races and dull and drab and not rational people. In fact, they too have some own history. They are like that because of their history. Are you getting this? Okay, since they are like that because of their histories, how can you judge? You cannot be prejudicial. That means you cannot show, because unless you study them, because you have not studied them, in fact you have not done field work. Without field work you are sitting in your comfort of the library or study room and you are talking about the world over. How can your judgment be correct? आप कभी फील्ड में गए नहीं, आपको क्या मालूम उनके बारे में? हाँ, what do you know about them? And you start writing black and white about them. You have forgot to see the bright colors, the life they have. In fact, their lives are far better than our lives. Okay, कितना मतलब ऐड करते चले जा सकते हो. That means when you're talking about the particular cultures, in fact, after studying them about the particular cultures, you realize that they have a very rich history. They have a very rich culture. Their culture is because of their adaptation to their environment. They have their attachment to their mountains, their forests. They have their seas and lakes. They have the cultural bond with their people. They have social connections, which in the West people we don't have much. Their kinship bonds are stronger. Many times their life is far better than us. Maybe you are talking in terms of comfort, luxury, ये सब जो दिखा हुआ है ना, civilized thing, जो भी आप लोग मुखौटा पहन के घूम रहे हो, ढोम लेकर चल रहे हो, वो सब जो भी है उतना strong नहीं है. In fact, वो ढोम निकाल दो and you are as good as these people. And if you talk about their lower status, because they may be smelling very bad, because of their conditions. Okay, sometimes we get that small stench from them or smell from them. Some people may not like it, but even if we don't bath for 1 or 2 days, हमारा देखो हालत क्या होगा. Our family members cannot bear our stench. करेक्ट ना. हम लोग अगर बात नहीं किया, मतलब बात मीन्स BATH बाथिंग, नहाया नहीं 2-3 दिन के लिए, क्या हो जाएगा. एंड आवर पीपल विल, बाहर निकलो घर से, नहीं तो ये कर लो. एंड they have that kind of lifestyle because of their adjustment to their lifestyle, and you cannot compare them with you, right? And you cannot come to one judgment, come to judgment based on, what on them, just like that. That means you cannot be prejudicial. Why you again see the same argument घुमा फिरा के हम लोग कितना पॉइंट्स निकाल सकते हैं. देखो, you cannot be prejudicial because no culture is superior. No culture is superior and no culture is inferior. And no culture inferior. आप is भी लगा सकते हो, नहीं लिखे तो भी चलेगा. No culture is superior, no culture is inferior. In fact, every culture is relative. ये cultural relativism का भी आ गया, देखो point. Why no culture is superior, no culture is inferior? If somebody comes and calls your culture as inferior, can you tolerate? उसका गला पकड़ के पूछोगे, नहीं तो मारोगे उसको. राइट, क्या खाना खा रहे हो, गंदा खाना है, yuck. Our food is superior. What nonsense clothes you are wearing? Our clothes are superior. You are not wearing any clothes. We are wearing clothes and we are having upper culture. You are not wearing some part of the clothes or no clothes at all. You are lower kind of a culture people. ऐसा बोल सकते हो किसी को जाके, किसी के घर में जाके बोल के तो देखो, आपका खाना गंदा है, आपको दाल भी खाना नहीं आता, you're only eating rice, you people are, these people belong to this part of the country, you only eat this, इतना हमारा अच्छा है, और vice versa. Can we go and tell like that? बोल करके देखिए क्या होगा. हाँ जी, आपको समझ में आ रहा है? Am I simplifying things or am I giving a theory? First, you need to understand this very clearly. We are not preparing for IAS exam. Every time I keep telling to my students, you should prepare for your life first. First, जिंदगी का एक भाग है. This is a part of life. So you have to connect that to it with your life. First, हमारे दिमाग में, बॉडी में, सिस्टम में, DNA में जाना है. Then you can relate to the exam. सही है कि नहीं? So it is all very clear, crystal clear, that whatever ideas we are getting through this subjects, it is about us. And who are we? Us means who are we? We are humans. And what is anthropology? Study of humans. So we are at the center of everything. And the number one, in fact, one of the core topics we discuss in anthropology is culture. ये culture का ही बात हो रहा है इधर. Culture is, no culture is superior, no culture is inferior, every culture is relative, every culture is unique. ठीक है? We can also write, once you write down, I'll rub it off. जल्दी कर लो आप. And please don't take any screenshots every time I'm telling you. And this is a small topic that may not require a lot of time also. Maybe we can come, we need only one session for this, not to about 1 hour at the most. So उसके बाद में हम लोग और एक क्लास में शायद कल लूँगा मैं, अगर I'll tell you if I can take the class in advance. So don't come to general conclusion. See, if a short note comes, all यही point बस simply आपको copy paste करना है बस. But you have to internalize it first. आपको मतलब you have to process it, then write. Don't just blindly copy and paste. Okay? Of its own history. Naturally, when you say history, automatically geography also gets added. So first thing he said very clearly is about history. In fact, Boas did not give any theory per se. Right? He did not give any theory per se. He just his ideas per se, matlab on his own, he did not want. Okay, look, I am saying all this and it will become a theory. I am giving historical particularism करके उन्होंने नहीं बोला है. So he was giving lectures and lectures in his Columbia University because he helped establish the Department of Anthropology in Columbia University, New York. So in that Columbia University, through his lectures and through his work, this man has created dozens of anthropologists. So in the while teaching his students, he shared all these ideas. आप ही समझ लो, आप लोग मेरे स्टूडेंट्स ऐसा बैठे हो. Now go back about 100 years back in 1910, 1900 and all that. During the first decade of the 20th century, he was talking about all this. I am Franz Boas here, standing here, and you guys are sitting as my students, and I am talking about my experiences in among the Eskimo, among the Kwakiatul, among other Indian communities, American Indian communities. I told you who are Indians. Whenever Americans are talking about the tribal people in America, they always use the word Indian. So don't get carried away by the term Indian. So you need to know the context in which the word Indian is used. So when he worked about right, these Indians in northern part of or northwestern part of Canada, and he wrote several books on them. Then all those became the basis for his lectures. So while giving his lectures and presenting his papers and writing about all his knowledge, this man was speaking like this: no culture is inferior, no culture is superior. In fact, every culture is not same. We cannot use the same also. Every culture is unique because that culture is a product of its own unique history, right? And your history and my history are not same. I am like this because of my history. You are like that because of your history. आपका एक हिस्ट्री होगा, मेरा एक हिस्ट्री होगा, उसका एक हिस्ट्री होगा, और किसी और का ट्राइबल पीपल का एक हिस्ट्री होगा, एंड सिविलाइज्ड पीपल का हिस्ट्री एक होगा. So how can you club them together and put them in a ladder, in an evolutionary line, that to one line only, as if there are no different lines? Everybody has to pass from savagery through barbarism to civilization. It's absolutely not acceptable to Franz Boas. Clear so far? I have this habit of asking every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, are you getting the idea? Because in my scheme of things, in my class, I don't know about others. In my class, preparation happens in the class itself. You need to just wait for the exam. When it happens, and I'm writing and clearing it. That's it. If you follow my class 100%, my scheme 100%, you can actually with guarantee that I can clear this exam in one attempt. जितना एग्जाम को चाहिए होता है उतना ही मैं ट्रेनिंग देता हूँ. Okay, okay, right? Clear, guys? So this is the basic idea about historical particularism. In fact, when Boas did not give any theory per se, who gave all that? It is in fact the ideas of Boas collected and popularized by his students and others, by his students and other followers, that it became famous as historical particularism, and other followers or others. His body of ideas came to be known as, right, historical particularism. HP means historical particularism. Well, ये बहुत simple idea हो गया. So I'll try to give some देखते हैं dictation अगर हो सके तो देता हूँ, नहीं तो because my notes, when I've written, no, that notes in all the notes is not so clear. In some areas I've written very clearly, but in some areas उतना clarity नहीं है. मतलब इसमें the Department of Anthropology, this is B, sorry, established the Department of Anthropology in the Columbia University. Before that, anthropology was not so popular in America. People are just giving some theories. They were exchanging ideas in the folk societies in New York and other cities. But anthropology department was not there. So which university is that? Columbia University, New York. And he has been instrumental in creating a battery of students, like dozens of students, and they became very popular in the coming days, and that baton continued after him also, right? So this man is also known for dividing the subject matter. He divided, or rather he has introduced something like four field approach in anthropology. What is this four field approach? In the initial class perhaps I told you that anthropology is divided into, right, four major subdivisions. What are those major subdivisions? These major subdivisions or major divisions are nothing but social, cultural. Those days he never used social, but he simply used cultural anthropology. Then he wrote about physical anthropology, then archaeological anthropology, and linguistic anthropology. So whenever we talk about this division, major divisions or subdivisions or parts in anthropology, these are the four fields, and some people called it as four field approach as well. Okay, so the credit goes to Franz Boas for dividing the subject matter. Four field मतलब ये क्या है? It's simply of the subject matter. What is subject matter? One student asked me, sir, what is the subject matter? आजकल बच्चों को ये भी बोलना पड़ रहा है. So it's very sorry, but क्या करें? Some people never apply their mind. What is the subject matter? Can you give me one word for that? Can you try? So my student should not be like that. Very simple topics, very simple basic English also. These people are not understanding. What is subject matter of anthropology? Or for that matter, any subject. वो सब्जेक्ट में क्या मैटर है वही है. And in single word, if you want to give, you can give some synonymous words. है ना? Try single word. Don't type in the Google, for God's sake. Brilliant. This is the answer. Bullet point answer. Content. So the content cannot be same. Just like in any subject, it is different. For example, if you talk from the syllabus angle, it is Indian general anthropology in paper 1 and Indian anthropology in paper 2. ये तो फाइन है, लेकिन what about the actual division? कितना parts होगा? So 4 parts according to Franz Boas. They are cultural. Earlier there was no social in America. In America, even today, when somebody writes a book, that book is titled as Cultural Anthropology. In fact, there is a book I have shared in my in the app. आपको interest है तो interest नहीं, I'm strongly recommending you buy that book. It will cost about only 500-600 rupees. I don't know. उससे ज़्यादा नहीं होगा. Okay, the link is there in the app. In the courses, there is a list. There are different courses. In one of the course, you see the title Anthropology by Ember and Number is there. So these couple have also written another book called Cultural Anthropology. Whosoever writes a book on American anthropologist writes a book on anthropology, general anthropology, they would like to write cultural anthropology. And in Britain, they use the term social anthropology. ठीक है, हमने ऐड किया इसीलिए social cultural anthropology. In our syllabus, neither cultural nor social is given. We have clubbed them together. And our syllabus setters called it as social cultural anthropology. अब देखिए, अच्छा, you bought it. अरे यार, wonderful. Where do you buy it and when do you buy it? Through the link or in the app or some other source? Sorry. Physical anthropology. And thirdly, archaeological anthropology. We can see the syllabus also. Everywhere, all these words are connected. Archaeological, yeah, okay, and even linguistic. And this man also spoke about a fourfold method. I'll just give you that. He also went on to give, he developed something called as fourfold method. I'll give what is that. Just write down what are the fourfold methods. Ethnographic data. Number 2, evidences. Number 3, oral history recordings. And number 4, participant observation. Of course, though he has not used the word participant observation, the term participant observation, but later scholars attributed the same thing, just like his main idea. This was also attributed to Boas by others, later scholars. Again, I repeat, reconstructing the history of particular cultures by gathering 1, ethnographic data, 2, evidences, 3, oral history recordings, and 4, by participant observation. Okay, so इन्होंने इतना कुछ किया, so much contribution, like pioneering in its nature. To that extent, that pioneering work has become foundational for anthropology as a subject in United States of America. So, in spite of that, in spite of this human contribution by Franz Boas, this man also was under criticism, just like any scholar, any other thinker. Franz Boas was not an exception to criticism. So what were the kind of criticisms leveled against him? We write only 2-3 points. Not much great criticisms were there on him. Okay, so what are the criticisms? I am rubbing this off. So in the criticism, people said this man did not give any theory. Acha, 1 minute. Before going to that, I want to add one more thing. Sorry, I need to add one more point before going to criticism. Boas also talked about something called as inductive method. You can write like this. Boas advocated and followed, not just advocated. Advocated means is suggested. Okay, advocated and followed something called as an inductive method. Inductive method. Instead of a deductive method. So what do you mean by these points? Inductive method kya hoti hai and deductive methods. That first I need to complete that, then we can go for criticism. So these points are very interesting, right? These are very important for the exam angle also. Because in some books this inductive deductive was not given. What do you mean by inductive method? First we will talk about deductive method. Kuch bhi, anything is okay. Deductive method means when someone or a thinker or a scholar with someone does a work, right? Does a work or does any kind of research, does a research work, better you write research work, or he conducts research based on an already existing theory. That means there is one theory that is there, and based on that theory, that person is working. That means there is one path that is already laid out. You just follow the path and you add some more to it. That's it. That is called the deductive method. What is deductive method? There is already one theory. That theory may be not just a theory. It may be right. It may be concept also. It may be a law also. It may be a principle also. It may be a doctrine also. All are synonymous words. Some people even use the word doctrine of lapse. Okay, whatever may be the word, the idea is already one idea is there, and you simply are following that idea and you are adding your research to that. That is called as theory. I mean, deductive method. And since Boas said no theory, why are you giving a law? Why are you giving laws? I don't. I'm against the laws, and I am also not giving any law, because instead of giving laws, I believe in doing the field work first. So मेरा क्या है? Mine is inductive method, but because inductive method is induced from the field work. So this can be understood as from the lab to land, something like that. It can be understood as a lab to land. So you have some idea, you have based on the idea you are going to into the field. So in other words, from the theory to the practice or field. ठीक है, first theory होता है, then practical होता है. Just like in our school college days. Because directly if someone starts teaching practical, people may not understand. But in case of humans, we are talking about cultures. We cannot follow any theory because you cannot put them in a generalized law. उनको कोई लॉ अप्लाई करके हम लोग ट्रीट नहीं कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज दे आर इंडिविजुअली यूनिक. एंड when Bose opposed this, he has supported this inductive method. Instead of following a deductive method, Bose supported an inductive method, and this method is exactly reverse of that. It is from practice to theory, something like reverse, or from land to lab, or from it is something like experience, not just some theory. First you experience that, and because it is based on experience, this is also known as empirical. These are the some technical words you have to know. So he followed this empirical method or inductive method. So when you write these kinds of words, these kinds of points in your answer gets elevated. Empirical, these are the technical words or terminology. This is something like a textbookish or higher academic level of knowledge. You should be very clear when you are writing and knowing and writing about them. ठीक है ना? समझ में आया? Either you want to write them first, or you want to ask doubt, or if you are happily understood, you can always share. This man exactly has done opposite to what the classical evolutionists have done. Okay. It's not about any example of any tribe. It is about, how should I say? Boas said, you first collect the data. Okay, you first study them, then you study many other society, then other society. Because the small tribal people itself, the tribal societies are they are in dozens and hundreds. When you collect so much data, after collecting the data, then you give the theory. ये कोई एक सोसाइटी का एग्जाम्पल से वास्ता नहीं रखता है. Am I clear, Ayush? It is not that about I have studied Eskimo, then I start writing a book. No, it is a book you can write, but not any theory. You can't give any ism. So whereas what exactly as opposite has been done by the classical evolutionists, they have not studied any society directly, and they went on giving theories and laws. Theory bhi nahi hai, laws hai. It's not even a theory, it is a law, LAWS, laws. So Bose said, go to the field, work, especially as far as American Indians are concerned. Go to the field, work with them, collect the information, collect the data, he has given that 4-field method. Do the ethnographic data, get evidences, get the oral histories from the interviews of the elderly people, especially elders को interview करो. Then सबको मिला के कुछ एक इकट्ठा करो. Then you talk about a theory. Then if at all you feel like giving a theory, give a theory. Otherwise, it is not even required. Because anthropology is not about any theory building. Anthropology is about the understanding the variety and diversity of the people. You cannot talk about the humanity in black and white, or simply some Western and non-Western. There is one or two kind of categories. It's not about one or two categories. The world is divided into. The world is having like hundreds and hundreds of societies, thousands and thousands of varieties and diversities. So इसीलिए आपको फील्ड में पहले जाना है, then you have to go to the theory. Are you getting this? Everybody in the class. Anybody wants to use the hand raise option, it can. Sorry. Others? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Now, since he spoke from the field and did not give a theory, he is criticized for not giving a theory. अरे तुम इतना बड़ा एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट है भाई, why you have not given a theory? You could have given a theory, no? I would have enjoyed it. I mean, I'm just kidding, but this is the way people said. You have so much kind of university, you have a department, you have done field work, you have produced, I trained dozens of students. You could have easily given a theory, but he said, no, I don't want to give. In fact, my aim was not to give in a theory, because theories means, according to me, it is generalizing. I don't want to generalize. This man bluntly said. Number two, major criticism was he was collecting data, like too much data collection. Too much data collection happened, and he himself collected like hundreds and hundreds of artifacts and data. Too much data collection, and that is without coming to any conclusion. ये भी ज़्यादा हो गया actually. So when he is, this is actually valid criticism. When you want to collect data, fine, it's okay, but where is the limit? How far and how long you'll be collecting data without there is a word for it, without collating it. Collating means collecting together. So without collating, both are actually rhyming. Collection, collating. So that is one thing. And thirdly, his stress on data collection or oral histories of the older people. So when interviews, done, interviews given by, or interviews with elderly people. The elderly people, why Boas has stressed on elderly people? Can you guess, anybody? You can use the title of the ism, Historical Particularism, and you can guess and come to conclusion. It reflected static static dimension of the society. Of a society under study. For example, if you are studying a society, that the gentleman, whosoever is giving, especially the elderly man, whosoever is giving the interview, this man, according to Franz Boas, should be an elderly man, or usually elderly woman, or a village head, clan head, tribal head, koi bhi head ho, and usually he is very old. Then go and interview that fellow. You will get a lot of data. Why? I told you, there is a clue. You can have you guessed it? By the time I have completed the point, you would have done this. अब जाके ट्राई करो एक बार. अरे यार ये भी ठीक है, they know about this, but what is the title? Title में से clue निकालो. What is the title of the theory, or whatever we are discussing? What is the heading of that ism? Historical particularism. So what is the connection between the old man and that theory? Think like this, you will get the answer. It's easier. I'm also giving training you to brainstorm and guess, raise a lot of questions. Exactly. I want to cut one word and retain one word only, another word only. दो वर्ड्स में से एक को निकाल दो, क्या बच गया? हाँ, करेक्टली राइट, एब्सोल्युटली प्रियंका. हिस्टोरिकल बैकग्राउंड, आप कहाँ से आए हो, वेयर हैव यू कम, because these many people are in the small islands also, a small part of a big place. Where, who are your ancestors, how many are of them, what was your genealogy, what is your genealogy, that means vamsha charitra, your family history, your clan history, lineage history. So when that kind of history is appreciated, that whatever oral history, oral interviews you are taking, that was focused, I mean, on the elderly people. But according to critics, this will not give the dynamic aspect of a culture or of that particular society under study. But in fact, it gives a static picture or static dimension of the society, which is always not right. We should have both the static as well as dynamic aspects of a culture documented properly. ये नहीं हो रहा था, एक ही तरफ का हो रहा था काम. Okay. This was also valid criticism, except the first one. Second, 2 and 3 look like more valid criticisms. Even if you write 2-3 points, that is more than enough. So in summing up, though there were criticisms, every time you have to build the structure like this. Though criticized for his some lacunae, the work of Franz Boas, or the contributions of Franz Boas, were pioneering in nature, and with, I mean, it is like phenomenal, foundational for the subject of anthropology. And anthropology as a discipline grew in leaps and bounds in USA in particular, and the world in general, because of because of Franz Boas's contributions. So this is your general stuff. You can pick some words from my speech itself, my lecture itself, and make them as answers. इसमें आंसर भी छुपा हुआ है, आपको पकड़ के उसको कैप्चर करके देन यू हैव टू फिल्टर इट डाउन टू योर नोट्स इन अ स्ट्रक्चरल मैनर. आप वो कर सकते हैं आसान से. Then fine, then I'll call it a session, guys. We are done with historical particularism, and in the next session, next meeting, we will talk about diffusionism, another major theory. So theories itself, they'll take about 20 lectures or so, 20 to 25 lectures. Easily 25 तो हो ही जाएंगे. Okay, so 20-25 max. So that will cover the foundational dimension of the subject. Then we can easily link the other aspects of the subject. Okay, so I'm closing the discussion here. We'll meet in the next class. Thank you. Yeah, first you should write no. When you should write 1 or 2 answers and send it to me, then I'll tell you. So answer structure is very simple. Every answer should have introduction, body, and conclusion. So just like how you introduced to when somebody you are meeting first time, you directly don't come to the point. No. For example, if you are speaking with your friend, you don't come to a point direct. I mean, unless you are meeting a friend. That means with then you need to talk about the subject, then start concluding. Same thing. You're in fact you are speaking to a stranger. Your examiner is your stranger. So you should introduce yourself properly. Of course, through the question, your point should be introduced. Then you need to develop the body of that according to that question, and you should start concluding. That's the entire art and science of answer writing lies in that basic structure. And as far as these theories are concerned, the basic structure is you need to just a general introduction about this that particular theory. Then all the points, important contributors, important subject, the postulates, the main points, arguments, you have to write, and criticism and sum up. That is a structure. 2 सेकंड में हो गया आपका. ठीक है. It is not about only any general anthropology. I'm particularly speaking about the theories, the anthropological thought part. So you should give one answer, pick up one topic and write and send to me. Then you will understand. मैं explain करूँगा. चलिए, I'm ending the session now tomorrow for the time being.